Good evening. This here is a picture of a graveyard, whereas this is a picture of a ballot box. Now, on the surface, these two things have very little to do with one another. However, according to a new report from an election watchdog group, well, it turns out that there are over 60,000 people in the North Carolina voter rolls that are either dead, registered twice, or are enrolled to vote in another state. This is, of course, all coming about as North Carolina is only 3 short weeks away from conducting their first round of voting in the midterm elections. Now, the group that was actually behind this report is called the Public Interest Legal Foundation. They are a nonprofit law firm focused specifically on the topic of election integrity. And in the year 2019, this organization began to audit the North Carolina voter rolls, specifically by tracking a small sample of registered voters that were on the Social Security Death Index, meaning that these voters were dead but still on the voter rolls. And so this watchdog group was investigating how long it would take the state's election board to remove these people's names from the voter rolls after they were listed as being deceased in the Social Security Death Index. And it turns out that sometimes it can take a while. Specifically, here's what the report states, quote, deceased registrants, 7,933 North Carolinians were still registered to vote long after death in 2020, meaning that as of right now, they found close to 8,000 dead registrants on the rolls. And then furthermore, they continue by stating that many of these people who are on the rolls, well, they have been on there for years. Quote, the Social Security Death Index revealed that 95% of the registrants passed away before the year 2020. Just like with duplicates, missing personal identifying information can affect a state's ability to clean voter rolls with modern data tools. Then, giving some concrete examples, in the report they gave these two pictures, I'll put them up on screen for you, of 2 grave sites of people whose names are still on the voter rolls. And then they wrote this, quote, the pictured gravestones demonstrate how long a deceased registrant can linger in North Carolina. Hoyle Helms, a World War II veteran, died in 1997 when Clinton was president. Following his death, he remained on the voter rolls for nearly 25 years. He is not an outlier. Mary Coleman died in 2003 and remained active on the state's voter rolls for nearly 2 decades. These examples were not removed by officials until 2021, despite their deaths roughly 20 years ago. And then, outside of just dead registrants appearing on the voter rolls, this watchdog group, they also found just under 43,000 people who had already left the state. Here's specifically what this report says on this front, quote, 42,984 North Carolina voter registrants left the state and established or renewed their out-of-state voter registration before the 2020 election. In this study, we utilized the U.S. Postal Service National Change of Address, or the NCOA system, and the organization's National Voter Database to track those moving from their North Carolina address to another state and determine if they established a subsequent registration before November of 2020. And then furthermore, these researchers, they uncovered over 13,000 people who managed to become registered to vote twice within the state of North Carolina under different variations of their names. Here's specifically what they wrote, quote, 13,525 North Carolinians managed to become registered twice in North Carolina under variations of their names. North Carolina's voter registration system, like nearly every other study by us, can be tricked into registering a person multiple times with extremely similar biographical data inputs at the same addresses. These serve as an administrative challenge to be resolved as we see more automation to vote by mail. Otherwise, John Public and John Q. Public could each vote once while the actual John is voting twice, a specific violation of North Carolina election law. Now, according to this watchdog group, whether these duplicates happen by accident or not is not the main question. The key is that these discrepancies create a greater likelihood of the possibility for fraud, given the fact that North Carolina, much like many other states throughout the entire nation, have been moving more and more towards implementing widespread mail-in voting. Here is specifically what they said, or rather the argument they make as to why this problem needs to be fixed ASAP. Quote, during the 2020 presidential election, 15 million mail ballots went unaccounted for nationwide. Another 1.1 million were returned as USPS undeliverable. North Carolina broke its record that year, showing 2,860 undeliverables and nearly 86,000 unaccounted for ballots requested by the voters. And by the way, just as a super quick aside, if you'd like to dig into the specifics of all those statistics that they just mentioned, I'll throw all those into the description box below this video so you can read them one by one, which is right next to that like button that I hope you take a moment to smash, as well as that subscribe button that I also hope you take a moment to smash. Regardless though, this report continues, quote, an undeliverable ballot typically means the voter data is out of date and available tools are not being leveraged to spot the problem in advance. Unknown ballots are officially defined as those transmitted without tracking, which never return for counting. In other words, local authorities do not know what happened to the ballots. put into the context of the 2020 presidential election, for almost every ballot President Donald Trump won over then candidate Joe Biden, another went to an old address or is missing. Which, frankly, when they put it like that, is a shocking statistic. One that the president of this watchdog group, well, he says that it needs to be fixed now rather than later, given the fact that a consequential midterm election is coming up so soon. Here's specifically what J. Christian Adams, who is the president of this particular election watchdog, here's what he said in the statement, quote, "North Carolina officials need to use the time they still have to prepare voter rolls for the midterm elections. Time is running out. Silly, obvious errors in the voter roll can create opportunities for voter fraud and chaos in a close election. Correcting deceased and duplicate records now will help to preemptively address those risks." Now, since we're on the topic of election integrity, let's move our discussion over to the state of Wisconsin, where a city clerk has just been sued for her alleged role in an illegal absentee ballot harvesting scheme. Specifically, just 4 days ago, a new legal complaint was filed with the Wisconsin Elections Commission, and it claims that a Green Bay city clerk by the name of Celeste Jeffries, she accepted multiple absentee ballots from the hand of a single person on several different occasions. Now, for your reference, in case you're not aware, according to Wisconsin state law, it says that it is a form of illegal absentee ballot harvesting for a municipal clerk to receive multiple ballots from a single individual while in the clerk's office. However, according to this particular lawsuit, several witnesses saw Ms. Jeffries, well, doing just that. And furthermore, when she was challenged by these witnesses, who told her that what she was doing was illegal, she replied that it wasn't. Here's specifically what the lawyer representing these plaintiffs, here's what he said in this regard, quote, "The action is galling enough in and of itself. But when the voters who observed Clerk Jeffries engaging in this illegal act challenged her, Jeffries replied that it was her discretion to do so. One of the voters addressed Jeffries stating, 'You don't have the discretion. The law doesn't allow multiple ballots.' Jeffries then countered with the words, 'I have the discretion. I'm taking the ballots.'" Now, according to this lawsuit, after witnessing this alleged ballot harvesting, one of the concerned voters, he went over to the Green Bay city attorney to inquire about the city clerk's acceptance of these multiple ballots. However, despite what the law on the books actually says, the city attorney, well, she responded by saying that it was a gray area and that the city clerk did have the discretion to accept multiple ballots. However, the voters in this lawsuit, they are disputing that interpretation of the law. Here's again what the lawyer representing these voters said on this front, quote, "There is nothing gray about Wisconsin's election law. The clerk's actions are patently illegal. What's worse about it is the potential effect on the outcome of some very close elections that were decided via the April 5th ballot." Now, what he was referring to in this statement were the elections in Green Bay City Council District 3 as well as District 6, where the margins of victory were incredibly slim, being 2.2% and 1.8% respectively. And just for your reference, that amounts to a difference of only 23 votes in District 3 and 11 votes in District 6, meaning that in races with such razor-slim margins, the question of whether to follow the law becomes that much more important. Although, frankly, just in my humble opinion, it doesn't matter how slim the margins are. Election laws are election laws and must be followed regardless. However, here's what the lawsuit goes on to say, quote, "In the context of close elections, questionable and in this case illegal actions by election officials can tilt an election in favor of one candidate over the other candidates." Now, we here at the Epoch Times, we did reach out to the city clerk for comment, but we have yet to hear back. As soon as we do, I will let you know right away. However, the reason that this ballot harvesting lawsuit is more relevant now than ever before is because of the work of an organization that we've discussed multiple times on this program, an organization called True the Vote. They're the ones who uncovered illegal ballot harvesting schemes taking place across at least 6 different states throughout the entire country. And next week, there's a large theatrical premiere of a film based on their work. That film is called 2,000 Mules. Now, you will be able to watch this film in select theaters starting next week across the country. However, the global premiere will be taking place at a red carpet event in Florida, specifically over at Mar-a-Lago. And I will be there on site covering it live. Ideally, I'll actually be able to catch President Trump himself and get his thoughts on the film. If you'd like to watch that live coverage, it'll be exclusively found over on EpochTV, which is our awesome no-censorship video platform. That's frankly the only place where we can stream such election integrity coverage and know that it's not going to get censored. So head on over to EpochTV, the link will be right there in the description box below, because not only will you be able to see that live coverage, but there's a ton of other great content on there as well that you can check out right now so that you can stay informed. And furthermore, I'd like to mention that EpochTV is a real growing platform. In fact, a few days ago, I was premiering one of the interviews that I conducted between myself and a doctor at the Global COVID Summit, and there were close to 5,000 people watching the premiere live on EpochTV, which is actually more than I get here on YouTube. YouTube due to the algorithmic suppression. And so that platform is really picking up steam, which is, I guess, what happens when you have the choice between freedom and censorship. And so I hope you choose freedom and check out EpochTV. Again, the link will be down there in the description box below this video for you to check out. And then until next time, I'm your host, Roman from the Epoch Times. Stay informed and stay free.